All right, guys. So what I'd like you to do right now, using y equals mx plus b, talk to a partner about what did you label these parts, and then move on to the graph and make sure that when you're talking about the graph, where are these pieces of a linear relationship on the graph as well. Go for it.
For me, I said that the y is the dependent variable, the m is the rate, x is the y, b is y, x is and we're still from C or is and b is the y. I thought it was an A and D too.
No, C too.
Okay. I also got y is the dependent variable, m is the rate, x is the independent variable, and b is the y-intercept. And then for the graph, I said that the line was my rate. You can tell that it's for the m, did you get right? Yes, I did. And b is the y-intercept? Yeah. And then for my graph thing, I started it a little bit ways up, and that's where the y-intercept is. And then I did y weights and
So I was here, most of us got this. Dependent variable is my y. Now remember, that y changes. Sometimes it could be dollars. Sometimes it could be kilometers walked. Okay, but here in our standard form of y equals mx, that's the dependent variable. Our m is the rate, which is also the slope. I've added this linear relationship equation poster over here, which identifies all the parts as well. So when I draw a graph, I need to have these four parts on it as well. Okay? These four parts show up in our equation, they show up in our table, and they show up in our graph. So if I move over to the graph, you can see my y-intercept is where my line touches the y-axis. My rate is calculated by change of y over change in x. So here you can see my y changes 4, my x changes 4, so I have a 4 over 4, which is a 1 cookie per minute rate. I'm not eating my cookies very fast. Take my time. Savoring the flavor, Chris. Savoring the flavor. So that's my rate, which is probably one of the harder things to do. When you guys are sketching your graphs, you can put your points on the line instead of trying to draw lines. It's much easier. So I just wanted to show you that. My independent variable is time on the bottom. My dependent variable, which is number of cookies I eat, that depends on my time. So that is my dependent variable. And I start with 20 cookies. And then every minute I eat a cookie. And after 20 minutes I'm very full and not feeling very good. Because I ate all 20 cookies.
I usually eat 20 cookies every night.
So make sure you guys, you have the y-intercept labeled on your graph. You can use mine as a scaffold. Make sure you have your rate labeled and you know how to find that rate. Again, that is the change of y over change in x. Make sure you have your independent variable and dependent variable. Comments or thoughts? Retakes are tomorrow morning. I'll be here. I know I have like 4 or 5 kids that are coming in. A number of you, I know a couple of you in here, I'll talk to you during class. You haven't started the retake process, but you have to do it because you didn't pass. So remember that will come out of your time, or you can come in the morning and work on it and get it all done. So that is tomorrow. We're going to finish up those retakes. Your grades are in Infinite Campus. I've updated them. And then Friday school is happening. We have Miss Harris. She's here, which is a great resource for you guys. I want to unpack this target for today. So it says, I can relate solutions. Talk to your table. What is a solution? What do I mean by that? What's a solution?
Wouldn't that be an answer to...
Just an answer. Yeah. So Cyrus said, isn't that an answer? Yes. And then Ben, add on to that.
A solution is a way to find an answer.
A way to find an answer. So now we have I can relate solutions. So we know that we can find multiple answers to linear relationships in the form of our standard form, y equals mx plus b. So this is what it's asking. It's saying, hey, if I'm given this equation, can I find multiple solutions, many solutions? And my solutions are going to look like this. What do we call that? A coordinate point, where I have an x and a y. Now, this is what is really important in this, is that I can have hundreds of these as solutions to this equation. But what's important is that the x means something and the y means something. Here, we don't know what they mean. But if you come over to my table, we know the x means time and the y is distance. So if I had a coordinate point, and that coordinate point was 3 and 6, that would mean in 3 minutes, I would go 6 miles. That's what those numbers mean. They mean something. And it's really important that you understand that that's a solution, but there's more than one. Because anything on this line can be a solution. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to look at multiple solutions today, and we'll have some practice with the homework. Okay, I have reorganized the tables. So now, in your homework groups, you have plenty of room to be in a half circle facing the board. No more. If your back is turned, you can come in and practice facing the board. It's pretty easy. Same over here. Plenty of room for you to be standing with your homework in front of you, participating in the discussion. Okay? No, I don't want a lot of different discussions. I want one large group discussion. Here we go. Get it over there. Come on. Stand up, Sylvie. Get part of that group. Astro. You don't need a chair. Put the chair away. Stand up. Come on. Stand up.
Alright, Ashton. I made a 55 or 55.
I'm going to do that right now.
I thought that you disagree. What would you have granola? It's right there. I put 75 granola bars. I put 75
Okay, participate here.
And I'm not sure the question.
Yes, quick.
Oh, Ashley.
Yeah, you gotta look at this.
Look at these, and they're equal, right?
They're equal right at 75.
Down at how many numbers?
Oh, yeah.
75.
Right at 75.
I thought it was going up by 5. Incorrect. So, 48. So I just.
It wasn't right on the line. I don't know. For 50 birds, it's 50 birds.
Wait, what did you write down? I do. I still got 30. I don't want to be 48. I think it's 48. I wouldn't agree with that. 50?
Yeah.
See, I don't like these equations.
Hey guys, can we back up some?
I just think like a problem.
Hey, talk to Josh.
I like it.
What's your question?
Graphs.
I don't know. I
Because
like
I
making
can
the graphs
tell you
when
a
it
lot
comes
of
to these
kids.
questions,
We
but
need
if
to talk
it's
about
like
C.
30. This is random.
I said 30. I need to word.
We said income, and if you look on the graph,
So at 300 bars, how much do they make?
So I agree with that.
$200.
Yeah.
Okay, so 300
And the
bars,
profit.
$200. Cost.
Yeah, I agree with $75.
One.
Yeah, I misread the graph. But I meant it.
So how'd you get 75?
Other than that, you did pretty good after.
Questions for him? Yeah, this is the one that you guys, most of you missed. What? Yeah, you got it? Oh yeah, I remember.
I just misread the graph. I got it.
Ah, that's how.
That's what I did.
I did
60.
Because how much does it cost? How much do they make from 300 bars?
$75.
Okay, wait. How much is their income?
$200.
$200. So it's 200, and then their cost to make 300 is 25. So then you go 200 minus the cost, which is 125. They make $75 profit.
okay, that's what I did, and I got $75.
I didn't pay attention to that.
Yeah, you got to do how much they make, the income minus the cost. All right, we good? Okay, I'll take that. All right, guys, come and find your seats. That's right. Hold on. So, I want to talk to you guys about just C, because it's a good one. So I got to be able to read the graph here. If I sell 300 bars, which is here, Jay, if I sell 300 bars, I'm going to make $200. So that's how much I take in. But that's not how much I actually profit. Because the cost of 200 bars is 125. So how much I make is the $75. That is actually how much I profit. That's the difference between my income to my cost. How do you figure out B? Because this was a hard one. Uh-huh. How do I figure it out? How do I know how much I'm going to make from selling 50 protein bars? I mean, I could go here to 50, go up to my income, go over, and yeah, no idea. Why? Why can't I, like, Olive?
Well, that line would be 25 because it's halfway in between 50, but it doesn't get.
But it actually doesn't hit the line.
Yeah.
It's above the line.
You can't have an exact measurement.
Ooh, but can you have an exact measurement?
Well, I mean, just looking at the graph.
Okay, so I have to figure out the rate. In order to get an exact measurement, what do I use to get an exact measurement? A graph, a table, or an equation? Okay, could I get an exact measurement with a table? Yeah, but it's going to take me a long time to get to how many bars? 50 bars. And then I got to go all the way to 125. So an equation is going to get me the exact amount right off the bat. So the rate. Let's figure out the rate of the income. So here's a point. And there's a point. So, change in y over change in x. So my change in x is this way. It's positive. I go from here to here, because that point is right there. So that's 225, and that's 150. So my change in x is 75. Change in y, I go from 100 to 150. So I have 50 divided by 75. Anyone know what that means? Equals? Yeah?
33%.
Ooh. This is 2/3. It's 0.6666. So, what does this 0.66 mean? Not how many bars they sold. Yeah? How much each bar costs. So each bar costs 66 cents. So if I sell 50 bars, how much do I make? You're going to be using them today.
I know the answer. Me too. But I don't know.
Where'd you get press? So, this is how I can get an exact amount, is by using the equation. Yes, the table's going to get the exact amount, but it's going to take a long time. I can estimate, I could be like, well, it's going to be more than 25 and probably not more than 40. But that doesn't give me the exact amount. So I want you to talk to your table real quick. How do I figure out 125? Go.
Multiply 125 with 0.66 to get 82.5, not 83. Sorry.
All right. So, same process. I use the 0.6, Josh. I use the 0.66, multiply by 125, and I'll get my answer of what, 75?
It's
No.
82.
82. Okay. Today's notes, please go to today's, this slide. All right, so I have these three competing companies for ski uniforms. I've got three equations. Slide Prince equation, BB Prince equation, and then Ski Gear USA, their equation. I would like you, just like the warm-up, I want you to label the dependent variable, independent variable, rate, and y-intercept in each one of those equations. Okay? Go for it. Independent, label the equations with the four pieces that we know we have. Come on, Jade, let's go. We'll talk about redundant, independent. We're going to talk about that. Okay, so I've labeled mine. You can check yours. So I got my dependent variable is what everything is going to equal, because that depends on the rest of the equation. I have my rate, my independent variable, and my y-axis. One of y-intercept. One of them I had to add the y-intercept. No, there isn't a y-intercept for BB print because it is proportional. But what I did is I just said plus 0. So we know that the y-intercept is going to be at 0. So today we're talking about this. I can relate solutions. And we already said that, okay, these solutions are going to come in this form. X to y. A coordinate point is what Ashton said, right? We're going to find these coordinate points that are going to make this true. And then Presley just said to me, she said, but how do we know which line is which? That is literally our first question. How do I know which line is which? There are two things I can use in the equation to help me figure that out. Just think to yourself. What can I use in the equations to figure out which line is which? Got a couple hands. What can I use? Vanessa, what can I use? Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to figure out which line is which. So how do I know which line is which? What can I use? Yep. So you're using the y-intercept here. You said, hey, that's 90, so this graph has to be Salida. Okay? Good. I can use the y-intercept. So Josh, she used the y-intercept, so what other one do I know for certain?
UV print.
Okay, which one is it?
0.
Okay, so here I have a proportional relationship. This must be BV. Cody, last one.
The last one is ski gear.
Ski gear, you say, that has a 300 y-intercept. So this is ski gear. What else could I have used? Presley? How would I use the rate to figure out which line is which? Tanner?
Multiply the rate by 1 or 2 or 3, and then you can see if that.
Good, that's good. What else could I do? That's really good. No one has said that today. I like that. Just multiply by 1. That's cool. Yeah. Yeah, Richie.
You can see how much each one increases from one point to the next.
Okay, I could do that. There's even a quicker way than that. Anthony.
You could see which one is bigger in the rate, and that one is going to be steeper than the rate.
Awesome. So here I have 140, the steepest rate. Here's 80, here's 120. It must be the red because that's the steepest line. Okay, 80 would be the one that has the least amount of slope, not as steep. So that must be the blue one. But yeah, I could do Tanner's way. I never even thought of that. That's so cool. But just multiply by 1. That's cool. And then also I could do Richie's, which is she was saying just go change of y, change of x. Getting mathematical. Boom. That would find it too. So what about this question? Because I'm finding these solutions, right? And they're going to be in this form, x and y. What does x represent from my graph up here? The x. The number of uniforms. So down here, I would have number of uniforms. So if I have 6 there, that means 6 uniforms. And what does my y represent? The cost. How much it costs. So, where would 5 and 700 be? Did we do this? I did this in here yesterday with you guys, didn't I? Or no, I did it $8. Okay. They're kind of almost at the same point as you. 5 and 700. Who has that on their line? Which line is it on? Well, go to 5. I go up and, right? So, but it's not all of them. This is where graphs don't work. Because they're not quite accurate enough. So if a graph doesn't work, do you think I want to start plotting a table?
Yeah.
No. What do I want to do? So use the equation. I want you to go ahead. Use the equation and tell me which companies have 5 and 700. $5 for 5 uniforms. It costs me $700. Who has that deal? Figure it out. You're going to need your calculator. Can't look at the graph.
You can't look at the graph. It's so easy.
Can't look at the graph.
It's so easy though. It's so easy. BB print.
Keep going. Keep going.
BB print. Okay. According to my calculations.
That's one company.
That's my young company.
Get your calculator. You're going to need it today. You're doing it that way, huh?
Might as well.
Okay. But it's much faster. I can take 5, and what can I plug 5 into? Yeah, into the end, and then it's going to tell me. So, I got 1 minute, guys. So I'm going to take 5. Josh, I'm going to take 5 uniforms. That's what that means. I'm going to put it up here for the end for number. 5 times 120 is 600. 600 plus 90? 690. That is not 700. So this point is not on slide of print. It's not there. Slide of print's close, 690, but it's not 7. So I put it in for for number here. 5 uniforms at BB print times the rate does equal 700. So BV print has that. That matches up. And the last one, I put 5 in for ski gear. 5 times 80, 400. 400 plus 300, 700. So it's on BV, and you guys are going to be doing this today. You're going to be having to find solutions to y equals mx plus b. You're going to need to take your independent and plug it in. Here, you're going to start. Some of you have already finished some of these, B2 and B3. And then once you're done with those, you're going to move to page 2.4. Page 37, problem 2.4.
Are we working in groups?
Yeah, you can work in groups as long as we're on target. Bam! Now you guys are great.
Yeah, focus it on
Okay. This way. Bam. Okay, guys. Rock it up. Make sure you read the questions and work together.
I don't like working. Subscribe and leave a like.
Okay, thank you.
He needs subscribers. He's lonely.
Cody, focus. Hey guys, I have 5 kids already today coming in because they're taking math class at personal conversations. That's fine. That's totally fine with you. If you want to spend more time in here during your time, you can do that. This is math class, personal conversations you have in the hallway, lunch, recess. You have them now, use lunch, recess.
34.
So, just want you to be aware that it's been an issue today.
3.
And I don't want it more, but I can't help that.
Oh boy, I need this.
You have
No. There you go.
You do.
Rush is probably watching this right now. Oh, there's little kids doing math. Let's see what they're doing. Oh, dang, you're smart. Is this cosplaying?
Alright, how we doing, peeps?
We just started. Neither do I.
No. That's not how it works. I did not sign up to be on the camera.
Yeah, follow Miss Jones. Follow Miss Jones. Then you gotta put it on the back of her pockets.
Phones are all around. We just carry it behind her all day. Okay, we should work.
Lie on the graph of this cosplay. Yeah.
Okay, page 34.
What?
Got it?
What equation relates to C and by your third.
Following table reference. Okay. Number of shirts, right? Cost.
There
Do
has
all of it. Compare the cost of this company to two companies. Question A.
Are you looking? That's actually kind of scary. The thing's been right there and it's just like twitching back. Oh boy, I don't know how to spell.
You know what you missed because it was
What's the higher y greater?
Those are the questions.
I think they're done doing it. I'm like claustrophobic. Okay.
You're fine.
How do you know?
Even though I was on the news, I robbed a bank. Okay, what information about the number of t-shirts?
Okay, what else makes it higher? It goes up by 3, then goes up by 2, then goes up by 2, then goes up by 3. Like on the X, it's not a consistent pattern. The pattern changes so that the Y is like all over the place. But once you do the math, you realize it gets.
How much does it
Actually, if you want, you can come tomorrow morning. Right? And then I won't have to pull you during lunch or dinner.
So how much does one shirt cost?
7.5 for every 3.
So this has $2.
My bad.
But how much do you have to put down at the very beginning?
Okay, so what information about the number of T and the cost of coordinates?
Times the, yep. For which one are you looking at?
I got 4.
Okay, that would be, so yeah, mine would be -3. Any ideas?
Well, how does it compare? Well, you don't compare it by that on this equation compared to this.
It's like if you bought your sponsors. You know how, okay, okay, so for instance, my dad used to run marathons for the National Guard. And so he would go all over the United States, the National Guard flying. And he'd run marathons.
Okay, I'm looking for.
When he went, he would always buy his commander, right? For sure. Yeah, he did it out.
You start on
That
B3.
would be kind of pain in the ass. So, you know, so it's like, I'll buy him stickers as a thank you for sponsoring.
7.5. And what's the change in?
Right. I'm using $3 of money.
What equation is it?
So anyway, which plan are you on? Which plan doesn't make sense? Okay. Which one? Plan 1 does make sense.
She just
Yeah. Why does plan 2
Talk about camera shy.
No.
One less.
Guys,
What is showing
The
me?
reason why, what would be the reason for that?
I can't work on the press to turn away.
That's it. So look at plan 2. Does plan 2
Like
make
and
sense?
subscribe. What information? Bro, my brain is like
How about you
floating.
look at
You're the one
this
talking.
Okay, I
Hi
need
guys, how we doing?
a big drink of water so I can focus.
What's the question?
That doesn't make any sense at all.
I was gonna
Okay.
But there is no rate. They're not being paid for.
So, to find out if it's linear, you guys start with this. You have to do this and start with this. Change over y over change over x.
7.5.
So pick two. Well, we have to find out if it's linear.
No, it does compare
Well-
cost.
Are you on A1?
And so to compare it, we need to
What
find out how
information
much
about
they're
the
charging per
routine?
shirt. Because for this one, how much are they charging per shirt?
Right? But they like have to walk. and then-
Perfect. And how much are they charging here?
49.
Oh,
Well, you
2084.
have to start with $49, but then how much are they charging for one shirt after you put 49? Does that make sense?
No.
So,
It has a rate of 5.
how much do they have to start? How much do they have to put down here for like $34 right at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So let's pick two coordinates and do the change in y over the change in x and figure out what the unit rate is.
0.
So what is the change from this coordinate to this coordinate?
3.
3, so that would be the change in x or y.
Now, it's a little bit different. You buy that on Amazon.
Perfect. And then for those same two coordinates, you need to get a calculator. What is the change in y?
Do I divide it? Yep.
Well, you don't divide it right now. What do? You subtract
Give them a sticker as like
the y value from the previous.
$3.
Yeah. Okay. Now, how do you find the unit rate once you have these numbers? Not add. What's a fraction? Which operation?
And it's $3 and like most of the money goes
I
towards.
don't know.
What do you think?
So you sponsor me.
So add them and see if that makes sense.
Thank you.
No, because you already told me that.
She could be wrong.
10.5.
So does that make sense? Are they charging $10.50 a shirt?
No, not every time.
So a fraction
So why would
is
you
a division problem. Whenever you see a fraction, if you divide it, you'll get the decimal.
Yeah, you gotta pay for water. You bought 2 waters. They were about 50 each. So you spent $3.
$2.
Not $2.05.
Could be you bought your sponsor sticker. So you
Perfect.
bought them a sticker.
So that's how much they're charging. So let's try to write an equation.
Did you have to find another one?
You know they're gonna pay you $30.
That's a great
So I'll
idea. Let's do that.
$3 that I'll take $3.
Change in y over change in x. Which coordinates do you want to use?
These two.
Okay, so which one do you want to do first, x or y? Okay, you could do that in your head.
Yep. And they don't get paid per month. What about plan 2? Look at plan 2.
Yeah, that's right. So the change is just the difference. What's the difference there? 5. Is that change in y? Or? So which one's?
5.
It's a negative.
Okay, and then what do you have to do?
And remember, there's a 1 in front of that.
Perfect. Oh, one
So they
more.
get paid. So what
We
would
have
that
to find
mean?
it. One more.
Almost.
Yes.
This two.
Okay, do it.
Right.
How you guys
So,
doing?
yeah, we'll sponsor
What's
you,
your
but
unit
you
rate
gotta
for
pay
that
me a
table
buck
on
every mile you walk.
35?
34?
Well done. So, and what's your y-intercept?
Like with that,
So did you write an equation?
Question.
Not yet.
Does that plan make sense? Is someone gonna-
Can you with information you have?
Yeah.
No, you're not going to pay your sponsor.
I'm gonna pay my sponsor $3.
They're not a sponsor.
Okay, put it there. Make it a
He just
fraction.
roasted.
So that's the thing. That
equals
a negative X
oh
rate.
2.5 times
2.5.
So is it linear?
Yes.
Can you write an
Plus
equation with your information now?
34.
Let me see it.
Okay.
Start with the generic. Y equals.
It's a flat rate. It's like, how much are they getting paid? 0 per kilometer, Josh. They get paid 0 per kilometer.
Nope, that.
But the sponsor said, hey,
Are
B.
those
$3.
So no, you're right. This is you just need to put the circle on there. So. And then make that X
And
pretty
then
big.
they could walk backwards, they could walk
Plan.
forward, they could walk sideways.
And I want you to
They still
label
get
each
$2.
part of this
So just
equation.
A1.
So M is I want you to label it constant rate.
Constant rate.
That's good. That's how to fool them.
And
There's you. No, there's you.
B
Because
is
you walk,
the
because you
Y.
walk negative kilometers.
So if you walk backwards,
And then,
B is
yeah,
the
exactly.
Y
Times the negative is
intercept.
positive. That was a good job.
And do you know what the Y intercept
That's how
is?
to outsmart them.
Okay. I just put an INT. So the Y intercept is essentially coordinates, right?
Yeah.
And it's when X is 0. So what number is
So
Y?
you need to use these three plans.
So you put this number
A1.
for B. Now write this equation.
Okay, let's see.
Oh, this is okay.
Y
X.
Which one? Why? What plan?
When X is 0, you put that number of
That's why I put use equations on 36, guys.
So now you can really compare these equations. This one you put 34
why-
bucks down, and then you put $2.50 a shirt, right? This one you put $49 down, you pay $1 a shirt. This one you don't put any money down. $4.50. Right. So if you're only buying 2 shirts, that's the better deal,
Say
right?
you bought
But if you're buying 100, like that's where you're going to start doing the math.
well, that'd be different.
Well,
that one.
once we plug in
If
numbers.
I bought something that was $3, bought
For that one.
Depending on how many shirts you buy. And that's why plugging in numbers figures that out. So now with this equation, see if you can start answering some questions. And I want you to try before you ask me.
Okay.
You got it, bud. How you doing, Jay?
why does it make sense? Does it seem reasonable? The rate?
that's not linear.
Kilometer? Okay.
Because look. You
What about
have to
plan
do this
two?
to see if it's linear. Like on our homework. So what you have to do is you have to like take these.
So what's the rate?
No, it's like that.
Yep, and then do this,
No, negative 1.
and then
So
the
the
y
rate is
goes over here.
Does it make sense to have a negative
This
rate?
goes over here, but you have to minus them from each other.
No, be like,
And then
sure,
you
Ryan,
divide
I'll sponsor
them,
you. Perfect
and
mom,
then
you
you
walk
get
with
this.
Okay, so you find the difference between these two and these two. Okay? You write it as a ratio and you put your y, which is this, on top. So this difference is 7.5. So you put 7.5 on top. What's the difference here? Because you put 3 on the bottom. Then you have a division. 7.5 divided by 3. What do you get? 2.5.
Whatever.
Even.
$2.50.
I get 0 per kilometer, but I still get a donation.
Here's your equation right here.
And then
Yeah, that makes sense.
if there's 3, and if there's like a different one that's not from there, it's not.
Pledge
But if
3.
they're all
Y
the same,
equals
it's
2.
See it then? What are you going to plug in?
Bruh, that does not even... That doesn't even make sense. Y equals 2.
So, at 1, from these coordinates,
You're coming in.
put it
What is this?
Everyone, every time I look over, the mouse
you're
moves,
going to
but it's
see
not about
20
that.
shirts.
So you spend some
Top
time on it.
$84, right?
You want to talk, you want to get people off topic, sure. It's going to come out of your time too. It's not going to be just
What is
random.
Y
what I
equals?
did, but I ducked and moved the camera. I was like,
So tell me if this is, tell me if this is equal. I don't know if that's and show me your right
No. So be.
Okay, I love 3.
What's 24 related to me?
Are we ready for 3?
yeah, I was explaining to her how to find out.
Oh, good.
What's it mean?
Does that help?
Yeah.
What's the 2 mean?
Do you understand that? Yeah.
Okay.
No.
And I always like to start with writing this formula.
Yes. for every 2 miles, for the 2 miles.
So this is the nuts and bolts of what we really want you to get today, okay? So with the point 2084 lie on the graph of this cost plan. So let's talk about what 2084 means. This is these are coordinates, right?
Y and that's
Y goes in.
No.
So
But that's X and
y
that's
walks
Y.
This is X and this is Y. So what, in the context of this problem, what is X? And this is always X and this is always Y. So what is X in this context? Yes, it is the independent, but what is it in the context? It's the number of... What are we talking about? What's the context of this problem? And what is the Y in the context? And this is how much they cost. So this is asking, does this hold true in this equation? There's only one way to find out. So instead of Y, what number are we going to put in?
X.
No, what number?
84.
So what does this
84 equals 2.5, and then instead of X, what are we going to put?
You're the man, Jay.
Times 20 plus what?
Plus
What's your equation?
2.5.
Okay, guys, go ahead. Put this
No,
away.
2.5 times 20 shirts plus...
4.
So now I need you to tell me, does this equal 84? You need to do the math. First you need to do that, and then you need to add that.
That's divide, right?
Nope, when two numbers are next to
Please
each
get out
other,
your
multiplication. So you do multiplication first. So
planner.
see if that equals 84, real fast.
We have, hey guys, voices. Planner number 8, ABC on page 42. So we were talking about finding solutions. In the form of y equals ms plus b. So, I have a graph up here. This is a plicker. And it says using the graph, write the equation that would represent the graph. Because if, I'm going to wait, guys. If I know the equation, can I find solutions? Yes. I can take an independent variable, plug it in, and I get a dependent. And that answer will be a solution. And that's what we're trying to do. Can you find the equation, which then gives you a solution?